Well, tomorrow marks 1 month since the deadly midair disaster over the Potomac that killed 67 people. This morning, Mark Seagraves has the first-hand account of some of the divers who were the first on scene.
Steve Hayter and C.J. Isbell have spent years with the D.C. Fire Department. Both men were among the first to arrive at the scene the night the Army helicopter collided with a passenger plane over the icy Potomac River.
You know, having some years of experience and seeing a lot of things, that night, it's some of the worst things imaginable. It was one of those situations where it didn't seem to stop. It just, because of the sheer volume, the number of people, the area of the debris field.
Nightmare. It's something you expect to see in movies, not real life in DC. I don't think anything, regardless of time on job and what you've seen in your careers, ever prepares you for the magnitude of what we saw that night.
Isbell is the Marine pilot for one of DC's fire rescue boats. He recalls getting the call from air traffic control.
This time it was different. So the phone rang and they immediately said crash, crash, crash. So we immediately grabbed our gear and ran down to the boats. As we came out around Haynes Point, it was a typical night. It was cold, windy, dark, and quiet. So we had really no indication of where the aircraft was. We headed south, and that's when we started to smell the jet fuel. We're outfitted with night vision and thermal imaging equipment, so from the time of impact to the time of us arriving at the fuselage and starting to locate victims was less than 10 minutes. We saw part of the fuselage sticking out of the water, large debris field, lots of jet fuel. We went immediately to the fuselage, and for us, we started to recover some victims that were right at the fuselage. But seeing some habitable space potential for survivors in the fuselage, we came up and started to search inside the fuselage for the hope that there may be a space for a survivor.
Steve Hayter was one of the first divers to go into the water that night.
Prided ourselves on training for worst case scenario. We just didn't expect this was the worst case scenario. Obviously it was cold, dark, The smell of jet fuel was everywhere. The amount of lights from first responders on shore and on the river and searchlights and helicopters overhead was borderline pushing sensory overload, trying to make sense of everything. So that night was an anomaly compared to typical underwater conditions around here. The visibility was actually really clear. Partially due to cold water, cold weather, cold temps, the ice that we had in the days and week prior. We probably had 6 feet or so of visibility, which is usually unheard of. As far as what you saw underneath there, it was a mangled mess that you were trying to make sense of. Like, what am I looking at here?
Both men talked about the trauma they and others who helped in the recovery mission are dealing with.
I've talked to some people, and my wife and the family support, talking to the brothers, talking to the ones that were there. Being able to openly talk is probably, I'd say, one of the bigger helps for me.
It still seems surreal, but being around with our fellow peers who were there to be able to discuss, because the average public can't quite understand exactly all what you've seen and done. So being able to communicate that, and then the mental health professionals giving you the tools to help work through some of those things.